Wizard, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm here with the Hoopty Patrol. We're looking for hoopties. Well, I suppose the whole shop's full of them. I guess we don't need the truck to look for hoopties. They're all in here. Anyways, we talked about a few episodes ago about doing a Ford questions and answer, and that's what we're here to do today. I've got 10 or 11 questions to answer for you guys, and I hope it answers some of the questions you had. So let's get started. The Hoopty Patrol has some parts we're waiting on to come in on a big pallet. I guess there's a huge bunch of parts, but we've got a lot of stuff done on it already. I guess it's going to be the Grand Marshal of the Hoopty Parade someday. The Hoopty Patrol. Let's get down to business on the questions. I've got quite a few here, and some of them are really interesting questions, and I enjoy answering them for you. So without further ado, let's get started. Captain Frost 2002 Frost asks, what do you think of the EcoBoost 4 cylinders? There were some issues with some of the smaller liter engines and the 2.3, but as far as the 2-liter EcoBoost engine, they're a very, very good engine. It's what's in Mrs. Wizard's Discovery Sport, and we bought it specifically because it has that engine in it. Very reliable, very good power, very good fuel economy. All in one package. Like I said in the previous video, it's actually faster than her ML350. It gets up and goes. Out of a 4-cylinder. I like them. I think they're a great engine, especially the 2-liter EcoBoost. James R. asks, at what mileage do Fords or any other car get too expensive to bother repairing? It always comes down to a dilemma. How much is the car worth versus how much is it going to cost? I actually just had a vehicle, it's not a Ford in here this morning, but it was a 05 Jeep Grand Cherokee. The car's worth $3,500. It had the 5.7 Hemi, and I could hear the telltale cam lifter signs just knocking away under there. And I told her, $3,500 to $4,000 to fix this. I've done 9 of them already. And she said, should I do it? I said, no, it's not worth it. If you get into a wreck, they'll give you the value of the car. The rest is lit on fire. You burned all that money. I told her, no, it's not worth it. And it comes down to miles as well. I believe that when you get to 200,000 miles is when you start to really start thinking, is it worth fixing? It could be $500 or $1,000. If the car's worth $2 or $3 or $4,000, you really have to start thinking at that point, what life is left in the car? If I dump this into this car and 6 months later the transmission goes out, I just lost all that money. I would say the 200,000 mile mark is really where it starts to get, you ask the question, is it worth fixing? And a lot of times it can be, no, it's not. The value of the car versus the cost of the repair. Billy Schultz asks, Car Wizard, what do you think about the 2018 and 2019 Expedition Platinums and Limiteds and XLTs? From a mechanic standpoint, I can't really say a whole lot of them because of the simple fact they're too new. They're under warranty. Nobody's going to bring me one and say, can you do this or valve cover gaskets or this or that on this? It's still under warranty. They're going to go take it to the dealer and get it done for free. And they really haven't even been out long enough for things to start failing or having big issues. So I can't tell you much from that standpoint from my business. But I think they look okay. I think they're a good looking vehicle. I see a lot of them on the road. They kind of try to look like a Range Rover. They're trying to go after that look. Me personally, I would rather just have the real Range Rover instead of trying to look like one. But if you're in the market of certain price range, I think it's a perfectly fine vehicle. I think they're great. But like I said, there's lots of them on the road. DJ Vinland says he has a 95 Mustang GT convertible. He broke the transmission cooler line right at the radiator, and he was able to fix it with a hose and some hose clamps. Should he replace the entire line? Is it worth it? Should he just do the whole thing? And my answer to that, it depends on the condition of the car. If the car's kind of beat up and it's seen a lot of use, a lot of miles, a lot of hard miles, I would say as long as you have 2 clamps on each side of the hose, because there's no barb there, it'd be fine. But every time you do an oil change, double check the tightness of the clamps, make sure they're not leaking. Probably get you by for the rest of the life of the vehicle, really. But if it's in excellent condition and really nice vehicle, I would say go ahead and replace the line so that it matches the condition of the rest of the vehicle. But as far as just getting by, it'd probably be just fine. Big Smitty Style says, what happened to the head gasket issues of the Ford Focus RS, the Mustang, the EcoBoost engine, the head gasket issues they had? Really what happened was mainly on the Focus RS's, the factory actually put the wrong part number head gasket on. The head gasket, I think, was meant for the Mustangs and meant for the edges and things, but there's some differences in the engine in the Ford Focus RS. It just didn't hold up. But in the 2015 year, they actually fixed the problem and developed an upgraded head gasket for that model, and the issues went away. So where did they go? They went away. They're gone. In 2015, Ford solved that problem on the Ford Focus RS. As far as the Mustangs and things, I don't know about the head gasket issues on those so much, but I know on the Focus RSs they had a lot of issues with that. Let's see, the next one is Masters of the Mirror. Here's a 96 Lincoln Town Car. It starts easy, warm, no problems. But when the temperature gets below 30 degrees, it stalls until it's warm. He has to hold the gas pedal down to keep it running until it gets warmed up. My answer to that is actually a question. Is your check engine light on? I bet it is, and I bet if you have the code scanned, you'll find something going on with the engine coolant temperature sensor or the intake air temperature sensor, which is part of the mass airflow sensor. But I bet you find some issues there. You might see that when it gets below 30 degrees, it's registering it's 150 outside or something crazy. Something's wrong with the sensor. So the added fuel that it needs when it's cold is not getting there. I would look into that. That's where I would look. Kevin Hamilton says, in my last Buy This Not That Ford video, he says, Mustang II? Really? Is that really worth putting in this episode? And the answer is yes. Like I've mentioned in a few comments already, you'd be surprised all day long. I'm a member of a couple of car clubs in Wichita, and I always get these messages, hey Car Wizard, what about this car? What about that car? There's been a few Mustang IIs. There's been Pinto. There's just cars that are just like, what? Why are we even looking at that car? Yes, there's people looking at these cars. They're wanting to buy them. And I'm coming on to these episodes and saying, don't do it. And in the sports category for Ford, there's really not a whole lot of choices. So I had to choose something. And I know from experience that I've been asked, should I buy this Car Wizard more than once? The answer is absolutely not. Don't do it. Sam Lug asks, do Ford Mustangs look like Ford Fusion Coupes now, the new Ford Mustangs? And I say yes, they're hideous. Lee Iacocca would probably vomit if he looked at the new Mustangs. That's my opinion. To me, the quintessential Mustang look is gone. It seems like it's never coming back unless they make some major changes, but the car is cool in its own right, what they've come up with, but does it follow in line with Mustangs? I personally don't think so. I don't think so. Ford Fusion Coupes? Yeah, I think he's right. They do kind of look like that. Billy Bob F15 asks, do new Ford lug nuts swell up over a short period of time? He has had to take a hammer and smash the sockets on to get his lug nuts off. The answer to that question is yes. Not just Fords, but a lot of lug nuts these days have a chrome cladding. It's actually a shell, a chrome shell. It's called a chrome jacketed lug nut that fits over it. And over time there can be dirt buildup underneath that kind of swells it, or corrosion or things of that nature. And you just can't get your socket on there. Believe it or not, in the professional mechanic world, they have actually alleviated this problem with half sizes. You can buy lug nut sockets specifically for these vehicles. It's not 19 millimeter or 21 millimeter. They're 19.5 millimeter, 21.5, 22.5 millimeter, just for this problem, so you can get the lug nut off without having to use a hammer. So yeah, that is an issue. He brings up an interesting issue. If you check my Amazon affiliates page, I'm actually going to include these for sale. There are going to be a set of them. They usually come in a set, 3 or 4 different sizes. If you have one of these vehicles, it would be very beneficial for you to buy those. Anchovy Man asks, what's the future of the 351 Windsor engine, the V8, and the parts availability for a 73 Torino? They will dry up. It will go away. I mean, those engines, I have some cars listed here. It's just like a DeSoto, a Pierce Arrow, a Nash. This stuff's going to be gone someday. They're not going to keep making parts for it. You have to just kind of plan ahead that it's not going to be there. It's finally going to be gone. It kind of brings to light to me that the future of gas cars in general is limited. I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime, maybe towards the end of my lifetime. I believe that gas engines will be overrun by electric or hydrogen vehicles. It's going to be so much so that you go to an AutoZone or whatever and you say, oh, I got a 2012 Impala. They're going to be like, who drives that anymore? Who drives gas? Why do you even have that car? It's disgusting. The exhaust stinks on it. There's going to come a day and time when this stuff, all these, you're going to have hard to find parts for because they're going to move on past the gas engine. Even more so for your Torino. It's going to dry up. It's going to be harder. Just have to deal with it, I guess. Lydia asks, what is the pluses and minuses of removing the smog pump and the EGR on a 5.0 Fox body Mustang? She lives where there's no smog tests. The politically correct answer to that is, I don't care where you live in America. It's illegal to remove those. You cannot throw those in the trash. By law, they have to stay on the car and be a functioning emission system. Or you could get fined heavily, I suppose, if you found out. Now, the flip side of that is a lot of people are removing those items because they are unreliable. Your smog pump on many of the Fords especially, it just locks up. It seizes up with time and then throws your belt. It could create an issue where you lose cooling, lose power steering, and a lot of people are like, no, I don't even want that on there, and they just chuck it in the trash. EGR valve, it will run fine, probably maybe run better without it. You can just block it off. If something's wrong with it, I would say, and you want to remove it, that's your choice. Again, like I said, it's illegal, but it's up to you. But if it's functioning, I would probably leave it alone because you just never know with the environment, the political environment we're getting into, you could get in trouble for doing that. So be careful with that. Another thing to think about is 6 months or a year from now, you may get in the newspaper, the state that, whatever state it is that you live in, has just changed. Now we will do emissions inspections from here on out. And you'll be like, oh crap, I threw all that stuff in the trash. You just don't know. I think that's going to be coming eventually for all America. So that kind of wraps it up for the questions and answers. I got a lot of questions. I could sit here and answer for probably an hour, but you guys probably don't want to sit for an hour and listen to that many of them. I hope that answers the questions of the people that wrote in. I really appreciate it. I really enjoy doing that. I can use the years of experience, things that I've seen, to tell you guys what to expect or what kind of costs are ahead for you in repairs or if the quality of a vehicle. So we're going to be doing a lot more of these videos in the future, so look forward to that. Just like I mentioned, the half-size lug nut sockets, check my Amazon affiliates page. I have lots of tools. All the tools I use is for sale there. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, go ahead and do that and click the little bell. Like I just said, we've got many more cool videos to come. And thanks for the questions, guys. I hope it helped you out, and thanks for watching.